project with me. And it is so nice to see some familiar faces as well as some new faces. This is wonderful. We have an outstanding program for you today with some very special guests in the house that we will share with you a little later on. However, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the institution. We are a historical landmark, the African American Museum building. It is a Carnegie building, and built in 1902 for $50,000. How about that? So, $50,000 compared to what it cost us to refurbish it, and a tune of $11.5 billion. So it is, we are just really honored to be in the building. And so when people visit us, they get a double treat. A historical landmark and the beautiful African American Museum and Library, history and culture, reference library. It has over 16,000 books of African American history and culture, which does not include a rare book collection. Oldest book is 1815. How about that? It is located in a temperature-controlled environment because, as you know, being as old as they are, the pages will deteriorate. So our mission is to preserve African American history and culture, and I must say we do well. And our chief curator vouched for that. You'll get to meet him a little later on. But now, so when you come to the library, we are not circulating. Anybody knows what that means? Okay. Are you a librarian?
Oh, but I go to the library a lot.
Oh, okay. Are you?
But I love
You love the library? I can tell either or. Yeah. So, no, you cannot check with us because we are a research institution. So let's go across the hall downstairs. We have the archives department. We're pushing 200 collections. Ron Dellums, when he was in Congress for 23 years, his collections here. We have Congresswoman Barbara Lee. We share her collection with Mills College, of course, because she's a graduate from Mills. So we wanted to make sure that we shared with Mills College. We have Maury Turner, the legendary cartoonist. You probably heard of him. We have Henry Delton Williams, the legendary Motown designer who designed for such people like, we have in our collection, we have Martha Reeves, okay? You heard of Martha Reeves in the Van Ellis, which we hosted Martha Reeves here twice for Women's History Month. And I always tell people, she wasn't dancing in the street, she was dancing at AAMLO. And so she tore the house down, and she's quite a dancer. So she was on a 30-foot ramp here at AAMLO, and she tore the house down. So we have her original designs here that Henry Delton created. We have Frida Payne, who is part of the Supremes, are here. And what about our old Lenny Williams? His jumpsuit, spandex, which is about that big, right? And so when Lenny came here to donate a jumpsuit to us, I had to find a mannequin. I had a difficult time because it's so tiny. I did find one. And so I had the mannequin here with a jumpsuit on, and he comes from the stairs, and he says, "Vita, I was never that skinny." I said, "Yes, you were, because that's your jumpsuit." So we had a wonderful time with him. So, and then we have the first African-American school teacher, Miss Ida Jackson. Her collection is here. So you're talking about an institution that has a mission to maintain and preserve African-American culture. And we are just thrilled to be in a Carnegie building as well. Now, to let you know what it takes to preserve those garments or documents that we have in our collection. One garment bag for the original design of Henry Delton Williams. We had one garment bag costs us $300, $400 per garment bag. And then you talk about everything in acid-free bags and acid-free sleeves, all very expensive. But that's our mission. And so we are committed to make sure that we preserve. That's the archives department. Right across from the archives department, you have the seed lending library. Anybody heard of a seed lending library? Okay, you can come there, pick out some seeds, and put some seeds from our display into a small envelope, take them home, grow them in small containers or large containers, and hopefully you will bring us some seeds back. That's why we call it the seed lending library. Now, let's move up to this beautiful department. Right here, when you see the beautiful museum gallery, Visions for Tomorrow. This is on my right, on my left, East Wing, West Wing, these huge banners, the kiosks. Visions for Tomorrow, the history of Oakland, beginning with the 1800s. This is our permanent exhibit, test screens, telling history of people who migrated here, from some people who actually born and raised here. And then we have this beautiful exhibit in the center, curated by our own chief curator, with beautiful quilts. So you're talking about a lot of resources. You won't have time today to go through everything here. Up above the staircase, you'll see the African-American murals done by two local artists, Patricia Montgomery and Danielle Galvin. So that gives you a little bit of history of what's going on here. So now let's get back to today. This is very, very serious, wonderful event that we're putting on today, because we're here to give you knowledge of a disorder that's been around a very long time. And right now, what I want to do, we have several special guests in the house, but I call her my inventor because I'm so proud of her and what she established. And if you know her history like I do, why she even took this road, this path that she's taken. We sometimes take paths and get discouraged, and we leave it alone and say, well, maybe it's not meant for me to be. But this lady said, I have a path that was given to me, and I'm going to take it as far as I can take it. So I want you to put your hands together, everybody, for Jane Guy. Oh, you know what? Before you go, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of story here. Okay, don't go anywhere. She came in one day. I've been knowing her for a while, okay? I never knew that she was U.S. patent, 2 of them, inventor. So when she came in not too long ago, I wasn't here, but she saw our chief curator. Put your hands together for a chief curator. There it is. Thank you, Paul Jackie. So one of them was so impressed when he finished talking to her. The next day, I came to work and said, Vita, I need to talk to you. I said, well, about what? He says, this guy, she's got this invention for you. You just gotta talk to her. We need to have her here. I said, what? He sent me her information. She and I talked, but then I told her to come in. And we hadn't seen each other in a long time, so the name sort of escaped me. But when I saw her face, I said, you are the U.S. patent inventor? She said, yes, I am. I said, well, let's do this. So she is here thanks to her reaching out, thanks to Bamadelli, and thanks to all of you coming here today to see what she has to say. It's serious. Thank you so much. We'll bring you back up too. All right. Yeah. So now when I talk about other special guests, you met Bamadelli. Bamadelli, did you raise your hand? That's Bamadelli right here. Okay. So, all right. But I have a lady in the house. I'm not going to say her name because I want you to be surprised. But she is indeed a special guest. Yes, you may. I will assist you.
Well, hello everyone. It's so wonderful to see all of you who've come out today to enjoy this special day in the presentation of Jane Guy's wonderful invention and to share information with you about dyslexia. I think it's very important for all of you who've come here in support of this journey. The invention that Jane has invented is changing the lives of the way people will learn who have dyslexia all around the world. My name is Maureen Haley. The world-renowned author, Mr. Alex Haley, was my cousin. The story of Roots is the story of my family, of passionate impact. It is the story that has traversed everyone pretty much around the world when it came out, talking about being passionate about something. But what I'd like to share with you is Alex Haley wrote Malcolm X, Roots, and Queen. Some people did not connect all of that, but yes, he did. And the saga of the American family, Roots, was the largest watched television show in the history of television. That's okay. But we're going to go from Roots to today. And today, we have a history-making event today. I have another inventor named Jane Shaw. She invented the osmosis patch, excuse me. Jane Pruitt Guy is the inventor of the dyslexic learning device. And this device is something that people are going to remember from today forward for the rest of the world, basically. And from Roots to today, you have to realize that yes, Roots was a big thing, but this is even bigger, I think. I'm passionate about what happened in my family with Roots, and I've only had a few things that I'm pretty passionate about through the years. This is the second one. With the development of this device, things are going to change. People young, old, all around the world who have the learning device are now going to have assistance in being able to learn and develop better in their learning abilities. It's going to change everything. I also want to say too that the team is here today in support of dyslexia and how it affects millions of people around the world. This presentation is a memorable historical occasion here in Oakland because Jane decided to present it here in Oakland, in the community that she is around first with you. That in itself is a memorable occasion as well. We're going to have the team present some things to you, and the first person that we're going to present is going to be via Zoom. Are we ready for that? Hold on just a moment. Technical difficulty. Well, can I ask, does anyone here have dyslexia? Yes, yes. We have two people here that have dyslexia. So they both know that the learning abilities of a person that has dyslexia is difficult. That doesn't mean you can't succeed. That doesn't mean you can't grow to be a very successful business person. But it makes it difficult in the beginning, doesn't it? Yes, yes ma'am. And with this device, the young people, as well as the older, but the young people who are starting out in this world, who are planning for their futures, who are preparing to be the leaders of tomorrow, even maybe the president, they will be able to have this device to assist them in learning and changing their lives. How are we doing this? All right. We're going to put him on speaker.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there in person or in Zoom, but I wanted to just take a few minutes to introduce myself. My name is Tony Mines. I'm the VP of Marketing for Darcy Pathways. And I like to say that sometimes I say that I didn't find this company found me. And I've been in technology and sales and marketing for over 30 years, but one of the things that I always focus on is working with things that have a redeeming value, right? So as you can imagine, when I learned about the millions of people that, and children and adults alike, that have an issue expressing themselves with the challenge of dyslexia, and that there was a tool and a process that could help, I was all in. So I kind of jumped at the chance to be a part of this organization, and I'm very excited because of the real solutions that we're offering, and hopefully you guys can get a taste of that. It led me, as I began to research this and working with the company, I started to talk to a lot of different people about the challenge of dyslexia. And what I learned in talking to a good friend who I didn't even know had dyslexia, he's one of the most brilliant software developers I ever met. And I kind of looked at him and I was shocked, and he started laughing. He said, "You don't have to laugh." He said, it's not a miracle. He said it just was an environment and practice. And so what I learned from that conversation is that, obviously I'm interested and excited about being part of the organization and helping people. So I want to just thank everybody today for having me. And again, hopefully the next time we'll be in person. But I do want to leave you with this one nugget. So as you know, you hear me mention about dyslexia and the challenges. I am a black father, and I can honestly say, that in today's climate, our children need all the help and assistance that they can get. And it doesn't make sense to leave anyone behind if we have an option. So I just like to invite everybody to join us on this journey and learn more about it and really see this tool and this process that we put together, because it's really amazing. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you so much. All right. Very good. The next person that we're going to have speak to you today is the Vice President of Corporate Development. He's been 5 years with Apple and 12 years with Texas Insurance. I'd like everyone to meet right here, Dr. Paul Smith.
Thank you, everyone. I also just hope that wanted to give a few words about my background and this interesting technology that we have before us. I also want to mirror Tony's sentiments that this is an amazing technology. When I first found out about it, it didn't really have the impact that it has had recently. I initially started working with Jane to answer any questions that she may have about the journey and starting the company, at which point I think things progressed and she said, "Why don't you actually just help me build this?" And so I'm happy to be here. I have about 20 plus years of experience in the semiconductor space with companies like TI and National Semiconductor. I've done a startup out of grad school, which was a fab semiconductor startup, which is actually where Jane and I were introduced. And that was later acquired by National Semiconductor. I've spent some time at Apple and have toured various roles at different companies, from direct engineer to the VP of corporate development now, to business development and some program management. So I would like to welcome everyone and say, please listen to the presentation today and keep your mind open. It's a really great technology. It's going to transform. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Doctor. So far, we've listened to two people who are representing the team that's presenting information with you today. And we hope that they are inspiring you, they're intriguing you, wanting you to learn more, wanting you to, of course, give to the process. If you have a donation that could come our way, we certainly would love to get that from you. And if you know other people who are interested in this and would like to follow along with what you do, we certainly welcome that as well. The next person we have on the list. All right, very good. The next person we have on the list is someone that is very, very special to this event today. He's the patent attorney from a DBIP group out of San Francisco. He's the man that stood behind Miss Guy and put her patents out there for everyone to see. Everybody, Mr. Amir Hadid.
When I first met Jane, she came into my office, and it only took a few minutes after listening to her story, and I could tell right away that this was an incredibly inspiring person that I needed to work with, needed to help. So I just wanted to say, Jane, thank you for letting me be part of your journey. I like to often say that I'm misdescribed. Everything that I did was just writing down what Jane told me. So Jane explained to me her invention, and I could tell right away that she had already proven that it worked, already proven that it had already helped, and already was effective. And so all I did was tell her story with words and pictures. So thank you for letting me hear it, thank you for letting me be part of it, and I just can't wait to see what you accomplish. Thank you.
All right, everyone, I know you've been listening to all the different things that our presenter had to say to you, but you're probably eager to hear from the inventor herself. She's worked very, very hard on her project, and we are all excited for her. She knows that this is something that's going to make a big change for people everywhere. She's very passionate about it. She wants to share it with as many people as she can possibly share it with. And we have no doubt that it will traverse the world and change people's lives. Please give a warm welcome to the woman, the inventor, Mrs. Jane Pruitt-Guy.
This is amazing. It absolutely is amazing. To be standing here and to speak my truth on this journey that has led me to an invention that Amir so willingly spent a lot of time ensuring that we got things just right. So when you submitted that application, it was all out in the universe, and we waited and waited. One night, Amir called me about 9 o'clock at night. We never had done that before in this process, and I figured it was, I didn't know what I figured, but I didn't take the call. And then he texted me and said, I think this is a call you're going to want to take. And I was like, oh, call me. He said, Jane, I just got over the wire. You got that? I didn't know whether to breathe, cry. I wasn't sure. It was a long journey before I got to Amir. I did many years of research and studying the medical journals and theses of other people that had researched dyslexia. And that journey was eye-opening, life-changing, emotional. I was angry, disappointed, and didn't really understand why I hadn't heard about dyslexia until it happened to my family. And when it happened to my family, I still didn't get enough information about what dyslexia was. So if I can share a little bit of a presentation with you, try to help. Let's see, does it work? Thank you. I started out with myths and said, what is dyslexia? And then I decided I didn't want to talk about what it is. I wanted to share what it is not. Usually on my journey, when I found out that my family members had dyslexia, these are the things that I heard. And I was really baffled by that because my family was super smart. I thought they were the most brilliant people as you do yours, and I didn't understand how these words could be attached to someone who is so loving and caring and wonderful. Can I reach it that far? Maybe not that far. Okay. Oh, it's amazing. So here's the truth about it. It's a neurological disorder. And that disorder means that you're not going to find, oh, hang on just a second. I'm sorry about this. This is not how I planned it to go. All right, well, maybe if it was sitting on top of that unit, it would be. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. So when I understood that there was very little understanding about dyslexia, I understood that it couldn't explain to me what it was, how it impacted people's lives, and what could you do about it. When I found out that it was a neurological disorder, it kind of baffled me because I was told you'll never be able to read, or you won't be able to do math. And I didn't quite understand what that meant for a human being to not be able to exist in this world and thrive when that I saw it in my face. My family was doing very well, with the exception, difficulty in reading. So you have an envelope that was left in your chair, and I asked you not to open it until now. Could you please open it now? Inside you're going to find a single, what we call a pipe cleaner in the old days. And before I go to the next screen, I just want you to take it out and ensure that you have one. And what I'm going to show you is the shape on the screen. I don't want you to apply what you think that shape is or what that represents. I only want you to follow my instructions exactly, and I want you to achieve the goal of creating the same shape that you're going to see. So, now that's the shape you're going to create with your pipe cleaner. I'll show it to you one more time. Doesn't matter what you think it is, I just need you to follow the instructions as given. And then I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do it. Okay, that's your 10 seconds. Anybody need more time?
Yeah.
Obviously, before we start that off, obviously, you're going to need the second one. You're going to need the right tool to achieve the goal. This is what we do to people with dyslexia every day. We ask them to achieve goals without the proper tools. We ask them to figure it out, even though they don't have the tool to help them figure it out. We ask them to give their best shot, and then we grade them on the fact that they couldn't achieve what you had asked them to do. This is what we do to them every day. Now, if I gave you the second one, you'll achieve that goal. That's not what's happening to millions of people every day. Our relatives, our family members, the people we work with, the people we walk past every day, and some of them don't ever get the opportunity to be their best. But I appreciate you indulging me in this little exercise. But if the intent was to bring you closer to another understanding as we get through the presentation. I'm going to run this video, Paul, if you would click that, I appreciate it. Oh, wait, Paul. Is it not running? Oh, the internet. Can't get the internet. Here, I'm verifying it. It's a short 1.5-minute video, but kind of. Can we copy the link and try another way?
Despite extensive research around the world, most New Zealanders are confused about what dyslexia actually is, leaving thousands of children undiagnosed. But there are a range of other processing difficulties like organisation, sequencing, short-term memory, and spelling. Over thousands of years, the ability to speak has been hardwired into our brains. Reading has to be learnt. In order to read, we use three key areas on the left-hand side of the brain, and they all work simultaneously. In the front of the brain, there is an area used for sounding out words in our head or out loud. It also starts to break down words into similar sounds known as phonemes, like the letter T is T. At the back of the brain, there is an area for analysing words, which pulls the word apart even more by analysing the syllables and the phonemes, as in tiger. And the third area is responsible for detecting word forms, allowing us to instantly recognise words without having to sound them out. The more activation in this area, the more able a reader can glide through print without hesitation. This is the area that has been shown to function differently with some dyslexic people. Dyslexics have problems trying to gain access to both the word analyzer and the word detector. This may cause them to compensate and rely more heavily on sounding out words. They may also use areas from the right side of the brain which take visual clues from story pictures to decipher a word.
Thank you. As I continue to take this journey to discover what was dyslexia, what did it mean, what was it doing, it required to look deeper into why did they think so differently from me. I tried to sound out letters, and I discovered in doing that with a dyslexic person, I said, hey, write the letter T. And they said, okay, how many letters is that? I said, well, it's only one. T is a letter. And then they said, no, I hear 3 letters. Then I said, well, no, it's just T. And I went, oh, you're hearing the high, medium, and low of my voice. And because of the dyslexic brain doesn't have the filtering system that you and I may have, that they can drown out background noises, they can stop hearing the fly in the room or someone chewing the gum or brushing their hair or pulling on their shirt. They take all that data in at the same time, and they can't put it into a file cabinet because their brains are processing all of that information. You and I, we can shut that down and still have a critical conversation with a train blowing through the building. You and I can do that because we have that in our brains. This neurological disorder eliminates that filter. They don't have it. So their system, as they're trying to create a decoding system of language and words, they are trying to figure out, does that T need to have some representation in my head from my image or picture, but what do I do with it when I see it written? And sometimes that T could be in the shape of a square. Sometimes that T can be in the shape of a square where there is a deviation on one side of the shape. And as they go through that pattern of trying to identify letters and words to these shapes in their brains, they're actually having to create that for every letter in the alphabet, in every curriculum that they're experiencing, every street they drive, every sign they read, and they're trying their best to create a functional system that is designed differently than the way we learn. So just a little bit of statistic. If there's only one parent, there's a 50 to 60% chance that the child will develop dyslexia. That's one. Both parents, 100%. There's a spectrum with dyslexia. It can be very on the low, mild side, And then you can go to the extreme where you probably have seen people in their 80s that are still marking an X on the paper. They're extreme dyslexia and never got an opportunity to learn the way their brain was designed to learn. This number, and I took mine out of the presentation because I thought I was going to do it. We know right today that over 66 million people in America have been diagnosed with dyslexia. We don't know the ones that have not been diagnosed. But with these percentages, this can only grow. This can only advance, and there's no boundaries to where dyslexia is. I think you will all agree, no one. But for generations, we have left them out of the learning experience because we didn't have the tools. We didn't have the things that they needed to learn the way their brains are designed to learn. As I said earlier, my journey started with shock and awe. I was shocked to discover that the number one learning disorder nobody knew about was a secret. The number one learning disability that people didn't have access to the tools, to the things that they needed, and no one could teach me how to teach my family so that they could be their very best. The thing that was the most for me was that the shock was that this was not a limited learning disability. It's unlimited capabilities. It just, we need to give them the tools and teach them in the way that they learn. What is that? So after I got out of shock and awe, I decided I've got to ask myself some questions. What was the disorder? So what is the brain doing? And what tool did they need to help? That was a journey that took me down a rather large path, a tremendously large path, and it took me many years. I spent research in the United States, in China, in India, in Germany, in Russia, and Japan, and I wanted to know, was that only happening in America? And it is not. It is happening around the world. What were we doing in America for this? We were last on the list of helping people with dyslexia. I read medical journals, I read a thesis, I went through the educational system. I decided that it was important for me to look at nonprofits, what were they doing? I called the government and asked what did they know about dyslexia and what evidence base did they have to say that it works, what they're doing. They were like, well, they got computers. No, is it working? Well, they have audiobooks, but is it working? Well, we don't really follow that. How do you know if it's working if you're not following what is happening with the students that you're giving these products to? I decided now I gotta go to the public. So I went and talked directly to parents. I got involved in the schools. I know IEPs, 504 plans, early intervention. And the stories were all the same. They were heartbreaking because people didn't know. They didn't have any idea what dyslexia was. They didn't know that we were sitting here begging for help. And all we got was, we just don't know how to read. That was not acceptable to me. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm truly a problem solver. So I decided, how do we solve this problem? What is it that we need? Sounding out letters, learning sight words, or repetitive conventional learning will never work for a dyslexic. You cannot sound A-E-I-O-U. You cannot try to include them in sight words, the, and, but. It will never work for them. Their brains do not operate like that. Matter of fact, from the video, the way they're taking their language cues and they're having to build their decoding system of this language path that they really need to be involved in, it's a difficult, complex process. I wanted to see how simple is this process. It can't be, it's gotta be just quick, you know, just put something in front of you and you're gonna get it. No, it's extremely complicated. And every individual is different. And every person is in a different place with their disorder. And every person may not be welcome to receive the information based on this way or that way, because there's different spectrums to where they could be in the gaps of developing their decoding system. Those gaps we can't identify by looking at them. Next thing was, oh my gosh, out of the research, they're multisensory learners. We've been teaching kids in advanced classes and gate classes, multisensory. Why didn't we think this was those students? But they are. They're not just multisensory, they also have a deeper sense. They can be color sensitive, they can be sound sensitive, they can be warmth and cold sensitive. And all of that impacts their ability to create what is so critical we take so simply is to read. And that impacts their ability to do math. Some of the senses that are really key to them being able to develop what they need to know is the sight, hearing, movement, and touch. That's just a few. And those are ones we're really familiar with. The sight part brings upon another feature in dyslexia called dysgraphia. Dysgraphia, if you look at a math problem, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that 5 might jump into place of that 1. And when you blink, you look at it, you're going 5, 2, 3, what? Their numbers move around and they can't control that. It depends on the number. It could be the 6 that might move, the 7 may move, or the 9. But in early stages of a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, they have yet to recognize what is the signal that I'm going to get that tells me that that number is going to change space. There is something happening. It might be a shimmer. It may be that the letter might just grow a little bit. It might just tweak. It might just grow bigger, be smaller. But they have yet to say, oh my gosh, what's happening to my numbers? It's early development. But they are going to have the experience where that if they look at the number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they turn their head, it could be 5, 3, 2, 7, but they know they read something different. It is so key. The things that we have to ask ourselves, and what I've decided was important, was where are they on the spectrum? I have no way of determining that, but I know what I know now. Sensitivities, multisensory, they use more necessary to develop a connection between what they see and versus what their brains are doing. So how do I figure out if Jane Doe she can get the letter A, but she can't get the letter S? I don't know that. But I knew we had to find a way. And what is that way? Before I tell you the way, I want to just share this. Dyslexic can be overloaded with information. And some of the symptoms that you may recognize in someone who's been overloaded that hasn't yet to complete their decoding system will be that they'll get headaches. They'll say, ugh. Or they may have a stomach ache. They may make excuses and remove themselves from the scene where they have permission or not. And you say that's a behavior problem. But that person needs to get away because the data that they're receiving is just too much. And they need to have back up so they can sort it out. And they may not get your permission to do it. Closing their eyes, and you think they're not paying attention, they're unfocused. But they're trying their very best to hang on without having their heads explode. Literally, their brains become overwhelmed. And so we see that. We want to label it as lazy, unfocused, can't get behaviors. You're just not smart enough. Get it done. This is the dyslexic brain. We can't change that. I can't go in and get a surgeon to fix it. I can't take my child to an eye doctor because it's not a visual problem, the glasses will never work. Leaving out any unconnected sense in their development of their decoding system, the system will limp along. They will get there to a degree, but they will have gaps in that system. With the right tools, they can bridge those gaps in early learning. Between 3 and 4, they can develop with the right tool to be able to learn and create a decoding system within 5 to 6 years. Without intervention, from kindergarten, from preschool to 8th grade, and they're still not complete by 9th grade. That's what we're doing. We're sending these kids and people to 9th grade high school who become the largest portion of school dropouts. We talk about the school pipeline to prison, they're the largest share in prison. All because they've not been diagnosed, not having the opportunity, they have behavior issues because they don't know what it is they don't know about themselves. Today we change that. Today we stop that. We're in the 21st century, and today we educate ourselves to do better. And we can. So my decision was, how do I do what needs to be done? I needed to have something that was elegant but simple. I wanted to not have involved any power. I didn't want it to have any software, didn't need any microchips. I didn't want it to be connected to the internet. I didn't want you to come back and say, oh, it's not working. It needed to be all under the user's power. Because when they're engaged, they're learning. It had to be all under the user's power and then control the environment so that they could focus on the thing that they were doing at that moment in time. It had to be portable, it had to be left-hand user, right-hand user. But most importantly, it had to function the way the dyslexic brain functions. Not the way we want to teach, but the way they learn. And only research and delving into the depth of understanding can you really say we now have an opportunity to help them be the best that they can be. We need to bring more tools and make available to them the things that matter so that they have the same opportunities that we have. So that was my mission. The current system that we have today does not address the computer software doesn't work. It's a nice thing to have, but they're not learning anything. And you can talk to any dyslexic that will tell you they're good gamers. They play games, but when it comes to learning, that system is not designed the way their brains work. It simply says, here's a word that says the. I'm going to highlight it, and you repeat it. They're multi-sensory learners. That's not going to work. Hardware, having to get access to the internet to upgrade your system, all those features do not allow these people to learn. It gives them a band-aid and pretense and saying, we're being nice, we're giving you something. That's not enough. Solution. My invention addressed the multisensory portion of what they need. That engagement means that even if they missed a sense, they're going to reconnect in that development of their decoding system because that sense is now engaged with my tool. I don't know if it's sense 1 or 2 or 3, but I do know something was missing. And it might be all 3. My tool allows the user to experience where that gap may be and then bridge that information and tie that connection in to develop a complete system. It connects words that they are using at the moment in time. It doesn't allow them to go beyond the task, but it allows them to focus on the word. It controls the word, the letter characteristic, the size, where they place it. It hides and removes data that they don't need to focus on so they don't get distraction in the job of the task at hand. It eliminates bunching, which most people, when you read a dyslexic, You can't hardly read it because they bunch, because they have dysgraphia, which also causes a visual problem. My tool requires that they follow the system, and the bunching is eliminated. Now they can sign their name to a card and say, thanks, Mom. Now they can sign their name that you can legibly read, and their teachers can read it, or their grandparents can read it. Now they're the author of their words, not some computer that can spit out words, but now it's hardwired in their brain. It becomes a part of their system because they're engaged. We have pencil lifting, and it eliminates that, because when you write, and we don't do this often, you write, you connect the words, you draw, you write the word, and we pick our pencils up when we're done. Dyslexics pick their pencils up repeatedly, because their brain is trying to connect that information. They're searching in the file cabinet in their brain because they're looking for the answer, because the system is disjointed and disconnected. And we definitely need to control overstimulation. The dyslexic being overstimulated is until they get to the place where they have completed their system of learning. That means we have 40 different posters in a classroom which drown a dyslexic person. You have 80 different ABCs, would be almost impossible for a dyslexic person to operate in that environment. You have flashing colors beyond the ones that are comfortable with them. And that means they prefer yellow, they prefer blue, they prefer pink. White paper with black ink is a disaster for a dyslexic person. They cannot read it, they can't see it, they can't even process what's on the paper. To eliminate that problem, we change the color of the paper. It's just that simple. Just change the color of the paper. We have colored paper everywhere. Why can't we give them colored paper to do their work on? It's just that simple. This is my patent number. We are it still brings the tears to my heart, because I started this journey because of my husband. My husband was dyslexic. He passed 3 years ago, but he was my muse, so to speak, in my process of designing the invention. And for days and months after I figured out what the invention was going to be, I would test his brain on things. And he said, okay, well, you're not sleeping, so you better, I better be good, whatever it is. So my husband's 6'4", very tall man, about 260 pounds. He served 21 years in the military and the Navy, so he had a sense of pride about him. Rarely would I ever see him cry. And I remember bringing a prototype to him that I had set in the garage. It did styrofoam, cardboard, potatoes. I tried every material I could figure out to get that thing just so. And I handed it to him. He's sitting at the head of the dining room table. I give it to him, he said, okay, this is it, right? I go, yeah. And he looks down at it, and he holds it in his hands, and he doesn't look back at me, and he looks down at it, and I'm like, wow, okay, feedback. And he took a breath, and he turned to me, and he was crying. And he said, if I had had that since school, I'd be a different man today. And then he said, how could you have done this, and you don't have dyslexia? And then he said, that's because you're the smartest woman I know. We talked that day about it because I didn't know for 20 years of my marriage that my husband was dyslexic. We had tons of arguments about different things that seemed very minute to me, but very big for him. And then when I talked to him that day about the invention, and I said, I discovered these facts. Is this true? He said, and every spring when you changed the furniture in the living room, Joe drove me nuts. I had figured out the pattern of things, and where things were, and then I'd come home and you would move my chair somewhere else, and the pattern has changed. He couldn't handle that. I didn't know that. because my husband had been told all his life he was an imbecile. He was taught badly to in school. He was bullied. And he had trauma that he couldn't share with me. And when he shared that trauma with me, he could have saved a lot of arguments. But I understood, and my passion for wanting to be a part of this change became that much more important. So this patent, Amir so willingly took me on and called me late night to tell me the good news. My husband stood up and he applauded me. And that was the last time my husband would stand. He ended up having a stroke and he was wheelchair bound for 5 years, and then I lost him in 3. But that's the day that he stood next to me that I treasure so much. It's here read that phone call. So if you want an opportunity, the patents are here today. In summary, I'd just like to say, I think the educational experience should not be a path leading to frustration or disappointment, but necessary collaboration between all of us, and that we find a way to change the narrative, that these are not people in our lives that don't matter. These are not people that don't bring the most beautiful experiences to our lives every day, and they work very hard at doing it. They live in our world and do great things. We don't live in theirs. So I'm not really sure who has a disorder. Maybe I do. But what I am sure about is that we can all together do something phenomenal. I want to say, there's a piece, the whole piece about the invention got missed. I wonder how that happened. Yeah, did you scroll that? You see it on that? Because it's before the patent. Okay. I don't know what happened. Yeah, it's before that. Keep going. You didn't have a picture? Okay. That's okay. We'll go on to the next. So let's get to the end of it. I've held you captive long enough. Next one, please. I threw these in because I have a special place for that guy. These are other dyslexics that you may know. Our famous rocket scientist. She speaks openly about her dyslexia and her great achievement. I encourage you to go see Steven Spielberg's videos on YouTube about his journey in dyslexia. He didn't get diagnosed until an adult, but it will also, he literally cries about what they told his mother the day she took him to school. Our governor is dyslexic. There's great things that dyslexic people can achieve. But imagine what they can do with this invention. I am so grateful to you for spending your day with me on a Saturday rainy day. I am so honored that you took the time to get the information. And I have been bursting at the seams to literally be able to share some of this knowledge and hope that it lands well. And that you walk away feeling that I did do my job. I went through and I meticulously looked at it to find an answer. It didn't just come. It took work, and I'm so proud of each of you for allowing me to have this moment. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, I just asked permission. We're going to have Q&A, but I just asked permission to do something, and Jane has granted me that. Excuse me. two of you stand up, please. Come over here so I can get your names. What is your name, sir?
My name is George Armenta.
Hello, George. Nice to meet you. And yours, ma'am?
Raquel Anderson.
Hello, Raquel. Are you friends? Okay. High school friends. That's awesome. Well, I asked permission to do something really special, and she granted it to me right away. We would like you two to be the first two to try her invention here in the community. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So before we leave, I'd like to get your information, and we're going to set that up. Thank you so much. Question and answer for Ms. Guy?
Are there questions?
Why is dyslexia a disorder?
Say that, I'm sorry.
Why is it a disorder?
Well,
Why is it classified as a disorder that people have to learn it?
because of the way that the brain operates. And technically, the brain is designed, all of our brains are designed to function a specific way. We have certain chemicals that we all have. The difference is that a dyslexic brain uses those chemicals much differently from what we consider to be the average person's brain. Their brains are about 12% larger than ours. It takes a great deal more energy of their brain to complete a single task than we do. So, and some of them don't receive the same information through the visual that we do. So their brains are designed differently. And when there's a difference that's outside of the norm of the medical field, they assign it some type of title. So the title is a disorder. Is that okay?
So, I don't think it's a disorder.
No, oh, no.
I think it's just you did a really good thing in discovering a different way of learning and teaching people as opposed to plain taught them format they think they had it first. That format of teaching, I think there's something wrong with them, not all.
And you know, it's interesting you say that because Europe seems to think that this is the evolution of the human population. They believe they've changed their whole educational system in line with dyslexia. So they have a great system because they agree with you. I agree with you.
I think you discovered that there's something wrong with the way they teach the format.
Thank you.
Hi, can you comment on the incidence of dyslexia by language and by different writing systems and the way humans put sounds and meanings to written symbols?
Well, let me see if I get this right. So if I'm thinking about the way we look at, when you say symbols, we're talking about letters, right? Because, correct?
Yeah, is it correct that dyslexia varies by language?
I have not seen any evidence that if you're speaking Chinese versus English.
And like the way Chinese is written as opposed to an alphabetic system?
No. So there's not a difference in the language itself. It's in the processing of the language. So it doesn't matter if you're speaking Chinese, Japanese, or English. Your brain is still trying to translate that written language into something that it can recognize. So no, I haven't discovered that. I say yeah because it's possible.
Yeah, I was wondering what your advice would be for someone who's struggling with, I know for me personally it's not dyslexia, but growing up younger I had reading challenges and struggling with reading. I was wondering what your advice would be for someone who has, who struggles with reading.
Thank you so much for that question. The struggling with reading can be a very mild version of dyslexia, which means it doesn't impact you in such a huge way that your numbers flip or letters turn or you can't really pick up the symbol or the letter right away. But what it does, what what can be happening when you have difficulty in reading is that your brain has dysgraphia. Now, dysgraphia is not always talked about. And so with a mild version of dyslexia, and an extreme version of dysgraphia means your brain wants to flip information and not visually see it correct. So that means when you read the word THE and you go to see the word another time, you're like, I know that word, but I don't know that word, because you're trying to find a place to put some identifier on that word so it'll be consistently in your brain. So it's going to require, you can really benefit from the tool as well, but it requires you to look at things slightly different. One, I would say change your paper color for sure, because paper color can impact your visual and the way your brain is taking that information in. And I would also suggest that you, when you're writing, you make the effort to not pick your pen up, but write the word, move from it, write the word below that word, not next to it, because when you write words collectively to each other, it really impacts dysgraphia. So write the word a second time below it, and then write it a third time below it. And if you start to look visually down with your dysgraphia, it'll be better and easier for you, your brain to pick up and say, oh, that's the. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hi, are you planning to do presentations in schools, in inner city schools? They need that, we need that.
Thank you for that. In all actuality, I was doing this in schools for a long time before I got here. It kind of threw me out. No, they actually said, this is overwhelming. We don't know anything about this. We do things this way, we did it that way. And then I met a teacher who had been teaching for 32 years, and she let me test my invention in her classroom. She said to me that she knew she was losing kids that she couldn't teach or reach. She didn't know what it was that she could have done. And then when I introduced my tool to her, she said to me, now I have a reason to continue to teach. So she had about 25 kids in her class, and 10 of them were dyslexic, and the others were not. And so this little girl, this was 4th grade, this little girl walked up to her and I sitting at the desk, and she was a little weepy, like she wanted to cry. And I was like, oh my gosh, help her, let's not do that. This is not that kind of thing. We don't want anyone to be upset. And she said no. She raised her head and she said, this is the first time that I've enjoyed school. That was my confirmation that we were on the right path. And then the kids that didn't have dyslexia got a chance to test out the prototype. And they said, oh, we want one because we got done faster. So I was like, well, it wasn't intended for that, but okay, I'll make a note of that. So yeah, I have talked to the schools. The schools are going to be a little different because they have a system that's set in place. And I'm talking a completely different narrative because the research that I have come away with tells me that we were on the right track for a moment. Now we need to be on a better track. And so I need to, just slowly introduce things. They'll call me, I'm sure. Thank you.
Jane, can you talk about what your vision is to get this information out, and so it does become helpful and more of a standard?
Thank you. I'm an African-American woman. I am a female inventor. And I have been an inventor all my life. This is not my only time of trying to solve a problem. It's who I am. But we don't get the same opportunity to get funding and access to funds that can help me bring this to market. And I have had my shares of being in the room, and I've gotten what I said, and excuse me everyone, but I did literally say to this group of people that were going to give me $1,000, there were like 50 of us waiting for that $1,000. And And I said, well, where's the application? And they were looking at a single page and going through it, and I said, okay, and the lady walks over with a booklet of 50 pages for me. I said, oh my gosh, what is it, like our page book? You know, so I got in the room, and they were walking away smiling, and then 5 guys that were in the room said, first man said, so, what's in your background that got you here? I said, oh, my mom, my dad, I don't know. And then I said, well, what's in yours that got you to this table? So I got a little testy because it was repeated over and over and over again. And then I decided, well, I'm just gonna have to do this myself. So I'm working very hard to try to find pathways that we can get funding. I know that this tool is going to change lives and give people opportunity to be their best. So this is just my stage to say that we're gonna do that. Thank you for the question.
Is there like a curriculum or like a program that we could do at home for like, you know, kids coming up or dealing with this? And then my second question is, when it comes to communicating with someone with dyslexia, like how do you like identify it and how do you kind of change your style of communicating so you can get through?
Dyslexic have one of the best communication skills. 60% of the people on Wall Street are dyslexic. 40% of the people that are in NASA are dyslexic. All the top Ivy League schools are searching for dyslexics to give them free college education. There's a couple of steps that have to be done in order for them to qualify, which means you have to have a form filed in 8th grade of your intentions to be educated in college, so that it follows you to high school, and then you apply to these universities and you're in. So the communication is not an issue. You won't be able to tell through that because these are amazing people like you and I. But what you can do at home, especially from early, middle, and older, is that dyslexic children are very poor in organization skills. So if you say, I'm going to put the socks in this drawer, your shoes under the bed, and you're going to hang your jacket up, then you come in the room, you see that the socks is in the closet, the shoes are somewhere else, and then you say, okay, put your stuff away, and they never do. It's because they don't know how. Their brains can't organize that. The one thing I suggest is that you use cards and pictures. So you put a picture on a card that says socks, and you tape it to the drawer. And I promise you that once they get that sock drawer, they're never gonna let you change it. So be ready for that. I don't care if they turn 40 and have 40 wives. They're never changing that sock drawer. Okay, that is their thing. But they will get it, and they will know it's the sock drawer. So that's the start of it. And as they get older, the cards go away because now you've helped them organize their lives in a way that their brains can process. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So, Mary, this was my only patent. You know I have 4 more. So I am really excited about being able to bring additional tools to people with dyslexia. This was just the start, and to get people to change the conversation about learning. And this tool will absolutely open doors for so many people. So again, I'm very grateful to your time today. Thank you.
Step over here and talk about what we have here. And this as well. And then
I think Amir is better to talk about.
okay.
Amir, will you please? This is, yeah.
Yeah. Let's give Amir a round of applause here. Gotta make him work. Make him work today, Doc.
The drawings, they tell a story.
Yes.
They tell Jane's story. And
Yes.
so here's the device in action.
Can everyone see him, or do we need to move this out?
So, they're gonna, everybody stand up, please. We're gonna,
The story is hopefully very logical and sequential.
and then you can walk through this. Please, yeah, just come up. And we're gonna walk, yeah, because that's gonna, we're gonna walk through this. Okay, go ahead, I'm here.
Wonderful. So they're organized from right to left, and the figures are labeled. So figure 1 is over here on the right, figure 2, figure 3, but it shows the process of how you use her penmanship device to write letters.
And then the others are on the other side. But the details are in all the writing, because we got 25 claims. Can you explain that?
That's right. So the drawings describe one embodiment of the invention, but the actual protection is defined by the claims that are in the actual patent. And the claims aren't displayed, but the claims cover using the device and the device itself.
And does the 25 matter or no?
Each one is technically a separate invention, so each one has its own value.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you so much. And so he's the best one to talk to about the patent. I am the beneficiary of this gift, and express so much of his patience and who he is and how he was determined, because he really believed in what I was doing.
The pattern is the stick with the cutouts?
Yes.
Yes. And so what you're doing is controlling how I'm making my letters.
I'm controlling that, and I'm controlling your visual, and I'm controlling how much information you take in at that time. So we have a specific function that you have to adhere to, but because it's interactive with you, then the repetitiveness of what you do with that tool could bridge those missing pieces in your learning. And that, at one point, I'm saying, you can throw away my tool because you've got what you need.
So I know I'm dyslexic, but I didn't know it until I was about 65 years old.
Oh,
And I was in law school, and they gave me accommodations, but what they gave me was a computer. But what I wanted to say to you is that when I read the paragraph for this, that's the first time I've had a picture of what goes on in my, but I still don't quite, you know.
Yeah, I was supposed to bring one today, and I have to apologize. I left it in the box, a really nice box on my table. And as I looked around and decided I didn't leave anything, I did. But what it is that it slides and glides.
Okay.
And so as you use one portion of the feature of it, and you use the tool to control the initial symbol, letter you want, you move the tool windows to adjust to a different place, which will tell you the spacing between your letters. You adjust it again, and it will tell you the difference between your spacing between stringing words together. It's designed to be a very simple tool to not complicate what you know is your complicated disorder, which is control the environment.
You can put it on top of a book if
Yes.
you're reading a book.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. It was designed definitely for that.
Okay.
And the figures try to tell the story of writing your name.
Yes.
That's
why
what the
you
figures
see
show
my
you.
name and all these other- Can I ask you, did you get some information out of this one?
Yeah, I was particularly impressed by your criteria for that device, that it not be based on the internet,
Yeah.
and that it actually be accessible, and that it can actually just be used it's usable.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was. A lot of people think, technology is the best way to address many things. But when you have a complex disorder like dyslexia, you don't want to overwhelm it with another complex piece of it, whatever. You want to give them the opportunity to do the learning in the way they learn. So they needed to have some features that control that environment that they don't automatically have in their brains, and then allow them to be able to move through that development. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. That was exactly my point. I really didn't want to get involved in that.
Any more questions? Well, thank you. Also, tell us about this.
This is a copy that we had made of one of the patents in the case here, which is this, so you can actually look through it. And Amir, did I get this right? This section here with all the other listings?
You did, yes.
So these were other patents that bounced off my patent, right? That they looked at to determine. And
Is this new?
It's new. So this says, I'm taking.
Who's at the top? She's at the top. She's at the very top. All right. Yes. She made it to the top of the list.
Now all this is
Yes.
described by Amir, and we sat down, and I remember the first day I had the tool with me, and he's like, "Oh, so Jane, can I see it?" And I go, "Yeah," and I take it out, and I'm handing it over, and he's sitting across the table, and I was holding on to it for dear life, and he says, "No, can I see it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, can I hold it?" And then I kind of put it in his hands, and I released it like this because I was so worried that, who could I trust with this? It just felt so right. But Amir was just amazing and understanding exactly. A lot of what I talked about, I was so surprised because we talked for quite a long time.
I had a question. How soon do you see this actually getting into the school system itself and being available to the students?
Well, interesting enough, we just spoke with the Archdiocese Catholic School District in San Jose. What was that, Paul? A week ago, Paul? Was that a week ago we talked to the Archdiocese?
Oh, that was 2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks ago? So we are doing that. We're going to continue to do that. But at this point, we're heading towards getting it manufactured and getting it in the hands of people. So if I wait any longer for that.
On Amazon?
Amazon, from our website, which we put in the card in the envelope says our website. Absolutely, we want it within the next 6 months.
Oh, wow.
We're being very aggressive because we've been at this now for a minute. Yeah, thank you.
And I'd like to say that, keep in mind, this month, do you know what this month is? This month is Women's History Month. We hope extraordinary women, and of course, right here, extraordinary women. And we're so happy to host her here. This is wonderful. So, wow. What else, whatever the museum can do to further your vision, we are here for you. Now, before you leave, she's here to talk with you, but before you leave, please thumb through the binder and look at the patent. If you've never seen a patent in person, which I had never seen, and when she brought them here for me to look at, I said, oh, I gotta find a case. I promise I will lock them up in a case. Because she was saying, what? You want me to bring my patents here, Vita? I said, yes, I do. But I said, I will take responsibility and lock them up in a case. So please feel free. Do you mind if I take pictures?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. Thank you so much.
One of the things I wanted to add to that is that I had never seen a patent. So when it came to my house, and was like, yeah, Jane, you should get something delivered. I was like, okay. And when it arrived, I opened it. It did come with this amazing letter, and I apologize for not having the letter, but to see that and to know that people before me have done great things and received their patents, I never knew. I thought I was going to get a page that said, hey, you did the right thing, here's your patent, and good luck to you. But it was the amazing work put into a book, and it was just phenomenal. So, yeah, please take a look at it. It was something I had never seen myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody here, give her another round of applause. It's amazing. Wow. I'm so proud of you. It's so good. Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for sharing your Saturday with us here at AAMLO, our amazing team, AAMLO team, Marco over there, Chief Curator here, team downstairs, and of course our special guest. It's been an amazing day. Thank you so much, everybody.